We're over here now on my portable desk. Here's the picture of what we have to build. What are we building? Well, we're going to start off this whole thing in sections. Now here's the picture of what it is. Here you got the gauges, here you have the vents, diff controller, switches, and the heater controllers. Well, what we got to do is start putting this stuff in order and then making it fit. Well, first thing is we got to do the gauges, and this is what we got to work with initially. This is going to be our surround. The only good thing is it's aluminum. This right here is a set of gauges out of the early model Coupe GTs or 4000s, which had all the gauges. This right here, where is it? This right here is a surround from the later model ones. Same thing, same gauges. The spacing is exactly the same. The only thing is the surround is different. Well, what do we have to do? Well, we also have to put these vents, as you can see, I'll put the picture up again, right underneath the gauges. And we have to fit them in the top section of this assembly right here. How are we going to do that? Well, I went out and grabbed an old, just a piece of junk aluminum out of here, and I looked at it going, oh, okay, well, I think this might work. And what it is that the only thing I did do was I took the flap wheel and just curved it down so it fits right in the center. And what it is that I got to put my 3 gauges and my assembly, or my vent assembly, in here also. You're probably looking at it going, well, these holes are going to make it look like hell. No, actually, I've already looked at it. I put the setup right here on how we're gonna space it out, and all those holes that pretty much are been cut in this plate are going to be chopped out with the hole saw, or they're going to be chopped out by putting this vent in and making everything equidistant. But the biggest thing is making. I want to have this same setup. The distance between each gauge is the same, and I also want to have this thing set up like this, so I can get the entire thing into that section. I'll clean it all up and weld it in. That'll be the first part. Second part, we'll do the diff controller and the heater controls, and we'll build that onto this assembly. So let me first draw this out, and we will bring it over to the drill press and start cutting it up. Well, that's kind of how the gauges are going to sit. They look square on this. Now let me just bring this over and we'll start cutting it out. These 3 gauges, they're all fitted. What I have to do now is I have to measure out this, put it right there as close as I can to the gauges. Then I'm going to cut the plate, and I'm going to basically clean up that surround and weld those 2 together. Let's well, let's just do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the inside right like this, at least 5 millimeters in minimum. Cut that out. Yeah, I got to fill this in with a little bit of weld, no problem. I'll do that when I weld everything up. And I'm going to file to fit this. So there's going to be a lot of handwork to fit this. And then I'm going to probably cut it right here so I can fit it into that surround. So let me pull this stuff back out, and we can get this cut out. All right, now that I've taken out all the gauges and center vent out of our little plate here, what I got to do is mate it to this right here. Now, I'm gonna trim a little bit of the top off because we already have a top plate, and I'm gonna cut this center out right there and trim this down right here. And I'm just gonna slowly trim, and then I'm gonna cut this off and just trimming them both at the same time, pretty much, you know, because we want it as tight as we can, and then I'm gonna throw a couple of tacks on it and see how it looks. So let me get my garb back on and we'll just do it. Before I weld this thing up, because now that we have this thing all squared away, and it fits in there better than I thought. I thought I was going to run to an awful. I thought I was going to have to clearance up here, but it not happening. I barely made it down here, and I'm so glad this is so thin. If you take a look at it, it just clears. So I'm pretty hopeful about that. Plus, there'll be leather on it anyway. Well, next thing I want to do to make the Sport Quattro center console is we need diff locks. Now take a look at this picture that I have up on the laptop. Third row down, you'll see the diff lock. It's a pull knob with a picture of the pictogram of the car and you know the heated seats and defroster button and stuff like that. Well, I don't have any access to any of those buttons, and I don't have access to a Sport Quattro diff lock either. You know, even though I can't stand those pull knobs. I had them in my 83s. I don't like them. I'll always converted them. You know, I just don't like the setup, you know. What I do have here is, one of the reasons why I went and got the 5000 was this. This is the diff lock setup from the 5000 Turbo. What I'm going to do is, it is going to be going right here in place of all of the switches and whatever else was here. I'm not even sure what was here in the 5000. But this is going to go right here. So I got to cut these plates off and start forming everything, or cutting and sectionalizing everything out so I can actually fit this thing in. And when this thing goes in, take a look also on the where the diff lock is. I'm going to here's the picture again. Take a look down there. There's another, looks like a brace support. This is one of the reasons why I was so glad I had to cut half of this brace support out, because I'm going to put this one right here. And I'm going to weld it in here, but I need to get the height and everything, so when I actually go start up my TIG welder and tack all this stuff, I have this other support in here surrounding the diff lock. You know, I think it looks wicked cool. And then we got to go for the heater. The heater is going to be a little bit more involved than, I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to think on that, but let's first cut these we have to cut these ridges out right here. Cut these out and let's see how it fits in. I mean, I don't know, you know. I mean, it might fit in, it might not. But, I mean, the width is fine. The width is where I want it, you know. But let me first cut that out to see if stuff will fit in and see how much more I have to clearance. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. We got mirror image, up and down. It's inset, just like the original. Let me go grab the heater controls, and I'm going to grab the center consoles from a couple of different cars. I'm going to show you the difference, and then I'm going to, we'll have to start building the heater control system all set up. But I believe it's from a Coupe GT, but I'm not really sure. It's just something I found that actually looks the part. So let me put this over to the side. Let me go get that stuff, and I'll be right back. Now at the time we have to do the heater controls on that center console. There's a couple things we're going to have to look at. First thing is we have to make a system to set up. This is the heater control right here. This is a later model one. Now, I'll show you the difference in just a second, but I'll show you my method to my madness of what I'm doing. Take a look at this picture. Right above the stereo is the heater control switch panel. Take a look at the buttons, or the turn switch and the sliding levers. Those appear to be late model. The sliding switches appear to be late model. The turn switch for the fan appears to be an early model. And why do I say that? Well, this right here is a late model 4000 Quattro heater panel. And if you take a look at that, it has 1 through 4 just like that one, but it doesn't have the little lines that go up. This one does. Now, do I know where this came from? No. I don't. I found it. I have a bunch of these, and I have one of these, and I have no idea where it came from. I think it's from an 84 4000, but I'm not sure. Somebody, I probably, pulled apart the car, and as you can see, someone used clips of metal or whatever to put it in. Whatever. I'm going to take those out because I'm going to use this because it's the most representative of the Sport Quattro. Because you can see all these little lines right here. Take a look at the picture again. It has all those little lines. So that's kind of the deal I'm doing. Now, in order to fit this onto a late, you can't really fit this onto a late model one. Here is a late model center console. The late model center console is designed for this, the late model faceplate. Now, you'll have little grab things right here that go right in here and snap in there. Now, the earlier ones, like this, they had little clips right here that go into and snap into this one with those things on there. Snap into that. Now, this is the one I'm going to use. But I'm also going to adapt the later model cables. And you're probably wondering and saying, why do I want to adapt these? Because of this right here. They both bolt up, but this one has a center bolt right there to maintain stability, so it's always stable. The earlier ones don't, they just rest inside there and you put 2 screws right down through here. I'm not a big fan of it. That's the only thing because, they're kind of, not wobbly, but they're more prone to failure. But they don't really fail, but they're more prone to it because it's just, you can break the plastic a little easier without having that stationary. And plus these feel so much better, than the earlier ones. Because the other ones like, but that's beside the point. Now, how are we going to adapt this to the later model style? Well, we have to, this plate right here is what I'm going to copy and weld into that center console. Pretty much it. I have to make sure every single thing in this is exact on that plate. And what are we going to use? Just the rest of this Junko aluminum plate, Plenty of, go like that. Yep, plenty. I'll cut it down and it'll work. At least it should. So let me get on to cutting that and we will work this all out. There's our rough pattern right there. So we have to make it larger than that. And this is just a rough opening that I'm going to cut because this is all shallower. And I'm still going to probably put 2 mil on these things right here. That's pretty much it. Because everything else is going to be filed to fit for this stuff. Because it's so close and so tight, And let's go grab that piece of metal and let's draw something out. Let's at least cut the edges off. Let's see how close we get when we put it on that. I'm going to use this plate as a stiffener for the back of the diff controller. And when I have it on the back of the diff controller, it actually stands straight up and down. Right there. Right there. So actually, should make it look a little bit better. It's going to be close, though, on this. I might have cut it too short, but actually, no, it's going to go this way. Oh, no, that should go. It should be all right. So it doesn't matter. I'd weld in more pieces anyway. That's the great thing about metal. Let me clean this thing up with the flap wheel. I'm going to bring it over to the bench, and I'm going to just tack it in. The only thing that really stinks is I got to tack this plate in with this in here. And I don't like doing that because of, you know, this is a part that you can barely find. But let me go clean this up, and we will tack it in. Well, the console is done to a point. It's done with a major setup. It's done with the gauges, vents, diff controller, and heater controls. I have to go take a look at the pictures first because whether or not I'm going to cut this out and mate the heater controls to the back, or I'm going to cut this and bring it up to see if how the stereo is going to be. I welded a plate, which I didn't tell you I was going to do, on the back right here. This is so I can build tabs up to mount the heater control assembly. I might, if I bring this thing up, I might have to have rods that come off or things that come off in order to support the stereo. I don't know yet, because all single DIN stereos are the same. But let me go check the pictures. Let's meet up at the desk and I'll show you. I'll make my decision and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. Here we are looking at a picture of the lower part of the center console. Here's the heater controls. I'm going to put the picture up now. The heater controls and the stereo underneath. What I have is this right here. I just have a mock-up stereo. And what it does, on the bottom it fits really nice, but we have a huge gap right here to fill where we have this going in. Now, what I want to do first is, I made up my mind, I'm going to have to fit this exactly so I can get the exact height that I need. I might have to put another brace inside here and a brace to support the rear section because almost all DIN stereos have that section right there, the little tab on the back to mount or to keep it in place. Let me on my goggles and stuff like that, my glasses, and let me start cutting this thing out with my template that I made before. Fit that plate on, that's the first thing, and then we'll set the height of the stereo and move it up. Now's the time we have to put the heater control in. This right here is the later model 4000 Quattro. This is the earlier model 4000 Coupe GT Quattros. All that, you know, the Quattros are different, but this is a Coupe GT. What it is, and actually the Coupe GTs and the 4000s were a little bit different, mainly in width and stuff like that. That's beside the point. But we're concerned with the heater setup. All right, the later model run. What do you have? You have a tab here. You have a screw hole here, here, and here. What this does is you have a tab right there to fit into this. You have both of your screw holes that you're gonna put into these two, and this one right here. So it goes like this, and it sets right up. And it actually is it's a pretty stable unit. Then if you come over to there, you have the same holes, you know, for these two screws, and just one tab. And what this does, it goes in there, and they don't have the upper support. There was a problem with this, because if there wasn't a problem, they wouldn't have added the support. What we got to do here, this is the console now, and this is the faceplate, and I put in, these are the two of the control knobs from the later model, because that's what the Sport Quattro looked like. Let's put this on, like that, bring them fully out, as far out as they can go, and we got to center it, because when you're looking at the faceplate like this is at full reach right there. We have to make sure that this thing is set up so there's no binding or anything like that when you move the levers. First thing I got to do, mark the hole for this and drill it with a drill so I can screw it in. Then I can set this to be, okay, this is exactly, you know, put it like this would be exactly parallel. Then I'm going to cut this aluminum, bend it up, drill holes, and that way I'll have the screws in there like that, and I'll weld the tabs back on. But that way that will be all set. We will have that. Then we're going to make I think we're going to make a center tab. I'm not sure. We'll find out here in just a second, but let me see how bad it is. But let me first drill out the holes and we'll get this thing going. All right, this is exactly where I want the tabs to be. I am not going to drill them right now because it creates too much stress, and I want to weld these little slices, what I put in, so I knew I could bend it at exactly the same place. Next thing, let's fit the bottom part, because we have to cut this and fit the stereo unit. So let's get right onto that. Let me go grab the stereo unit. I'll be right back, and we'll figure this all out. Here's the stereo inside here. Standard single DIN stereos. That's just what they are. Marked it right here. I got to take out this section and move it up, because this section down here fits really nice. If I could take out this section right there and right there, move it up so this fits nice all along this side plate right here. I also want to put this in when I do it, so this doesn't, you know, I might have to add another plate underneath here just to support it. I don't know yet. If I do, I have one right here. So let's bring this over. Actually, let me cut this and I'll bring it over to the bench. I'll clean it up, and we will get, well, next thing will be we're right on the bench, and we can weld this thing up. Wow. This was pretty tough to weld. It was so thin. Oh, it just kept blowing through. What I do, I just globbed in rod. I tried to build it up. I should have used a piece of copper behind it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this down so I can put the stereo back in there when this cools down. And then we can build the back plate to hold the rear of the stereo up. That way we can just, the thing will be, in there and it won't be moving around or anything like that. And it won't have too much stress on these points. So let me just wait till I cool down. We'll be back here in just a second and we will get this thing finished. It fits in there real tight. I ground down these things right here. I mean, it needs a little bit more work, but it's pretty good for now. As you can see, it fits right in there. And where is this? This thing goes right here. And it's nice and tight. There we go. There. And that's all on there. That's in there. So I think it looks pretty decent. Push this off. Now, the last thing we have to do on this, because you know what, I'm still up in the air about having the small support down here. I'm going to go with these three and see if there's any flex in the control. If there is, then I'll put the support, but that's just, neither here nor there right now. But what I do want to do is, as you can see the lug in the back of here, take a look at this. All of the consoles in the Audi 4000, whether it B2 chat, whatever it is, and anything usually with a single DIN stereo has a rear mounting lug, so the stereo won't cockeye itself inside that opening. So basically what I'm going to do, some pieces of aluminum. I'm going to have this thing as a plate down here. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to bend it up, drill a hole, and then clean that up. I'm going to weld that in place. This thing will go right there on the top as the supporting top part of the chassis, and I'll just weld right to it. That's it. Let me get the grinders and the cutters and all the other paraphernalia that I need, and we will get this thing done. Oh, well, let me clean this up with the grinders, throw the stereo in, put everything back in, see how it looks. Well, we're done. Oh, man. Whew. Well, what do you think? I don't know. I mean, you have to remember, it's still rough. It's not bonded in because I don't have any panel bond. I'm going to order all the panel bond when I do the quarters and fenders and all that. And when I do those, I'm going to panel bond this in and then clean it up and, put leather on it and stuff like that. But other than that, I think, geez, I think it looks pretty cool myself, I like it, I just think it's neat. But other than that, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Remember, you guys can do this too. It's not hard. You just have to sit there and look at something and say, okay, well, I'll try that, you know, and this could be an absolute utter failure, but then again, I kind of like the way it looks, and, you know, I can't do the rest of it until I get the carpets and all that stuff in, but the reason why I did this is because when I get all the panel bond and do the quarters, I want to do this at the same time. Because I just don't want to waste a lot of panel bond. Stuff's very expensive, so. But other than that, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Remember, I'm just a hillbilly in New Hampshire to messing around with junk. And you can do it. If you want to build one, just, you know, hopefully take my ideas and make them better. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for showing up. I'll see you next time. Bye now.